Hello, and thank you for tuning into this week's Mayor's Update. As always, we have a lot of information to share with you here this week, so please feel free to share this video with your friends, family, relatives, and anyone else you think might find this information helpful over the course of the coming week. I want to start off by saying a bit of congratulations to Governor Maura Healey, who delivered her first State of the Commonwealth address this past week. Myself, City Council President Kaczynskis, and a couple other people from the city had the chance to go out and actually attend the address. Myself sitting with all the mayors there, and then our other Gardnerites as guests in the in the House chamber. A couple different things that were said that we're going to touch on in a couple of the updates as they come later on. There were new funding programs that were announced, new policy initiatives, particularly in the interest of elementary school literacy rates that were announced. All of those will be affecting us here in Gardner, but we'll get to those more in detail as we move forward. That way we're not spending an hour and a half dissecting a governor's speech in one of these updates when we're meant just to provide you with things that are happening here in Gardner. So the piece that we're going to touch on today in this update deals with the Mass Reconnect program that was the governor's new proposal that was adopted by the state legislature that makes community college free for anyone who is 25 years of age or older, and the impact that that has on us here in Gardner. Mount Wachusett Community College has been notified that their enrollment figures for people who are going to be attending Mount Wachusett Community College this coming fall is actually up 29% over this year's student population. So we're actually seeing a large increase in students who are now going to school on both ends, not just through the Mass Reconnect program and people who are over the age of 25, but also revamping the early college programming that we have in our high school programs so that our students at Gardner High School are actually attending Mount Wachusett Community College and Gardner High School at the same time. That's how last year over 50 students at Gardner High School graduated with both an associate's degree and a high school diploma at the same graduation. But several of our students are taking advantage of that and getting some type of college credit in Gardner High School. That way they're able to either knock off time in their college careers to save money that way, or at least get that head start over their peers at other schools in different districts to make them more competitive in the applicant pool for the different colleges that they're applying to. Aside from the State of the Commonwealth address, we had the annual Massachusetts Municipal Association annual meeting and conference trade show out in Boston. This is a meeting of all of the municipal officials. These are department heads, elected officials at the city and town level, all coming together to really learn about the best practices, learn from each other. There's different workshops that go on to see, this is working really well here in this community. Can you replicate that in the other community? Different lecture series on really seeing what management styles can look like. It's everything under the sun on that. And in fact, some of them are actually run by our city's insurance company, and we get discounts on our insurance rates and our liability insurance if we have individuals from Gardner attend those sessions. So it actually does provide a financial incentive to the city to go as well. I want to thank, as part of that, the members of the Massachusetts Municipal Association for electing me to their board of directors, the members of the Massachusetts Mayors Association for electing me as one of the officers of the Mayors Association, and to Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll and Governor Maura Healey for appointing me to the Local Government Advisory Committee that advises the administration in Boston on different ways to really have the state help us out on the local level to make sure we're getting the biggest impact we can for the people who've put us into office. All of those happened as a part of that conference, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Gardner have a seat at all of those different tables as we move forward. We want to remind people that third quarter real estate taxes are going to be due on February 1st. Remember, we say third quarter because the fiscal year starts in July and ends in June. So this is our third series of quarterly tax bills that got mailed out. You want to make sure you get those in before there's any concerns about any interest penalties or anything like that. So again, February 1st for that. And then also a reminder, March 1st for dog licenses have to be into the city clerk's office to avoid any fees, fines, or citations. Again, those have to be done on an annual basis. There's different prices depending on if you're dog is spayed or neutered, or if your dog is intact as the law defines it. But if you are over the age of 70, you do not have to pay for a dog license. That is free of charge, and that's a new proposal that's about 2 years old now that Gardner adopted after Councilor Durnalowitz and I were able to put that forward before the City Council and get that adopted. But again, make sure you get those applications whether you're paying for them or you're not. If you're over the age of 70, you still need your application into the clerk's office by March 1st. It was a very interesting City Council meeting this past week. We have a brand new City Councilor at large, Councilor Calvin Brooks. The City Charter says that if a City Councilor who's running for the position of Councilor at large leaves office before the term is over, it goes to whoever received the next highest votes for that position in the last municipal election. Former City Councilor Carolyn Kamuta won the 6th seat on the City Council, was sworn in on January 1st, but then submitted her resignation to the City Clerk on January 2nd. Since she took her oath of office, she was considered a legal City Councilor here in the City of Gardner. Therefore, when she resigned, it triggered that section of the City Charter. Therefore, the City Council had to vote to formally basically acknowledge the vacancy created by Councilor Kamuta's resignation and formally appoint Councilor Calvin Brooks to fill that position for the next 2 years. So we do still have a full slate of city councilors. There is no special election. This is all the process outlined in the city charter in section 32. So if you have any questions, the city charter document is available on the city's website. But I want to congratulate Councilor Brooks. He's actually the former city auditor here in Gardner, and then he left us to become the city auditor in Fitchburg, where he just recently retired. So he's very familiar with how local government works, and I'm looking forward to seeing us being able to work together, Councilor, and welcome aboard. MART announced last week that they're beginning a new Route 3 bus route here in the city of Gardner. This is based off of feedback that we've talked about recently with residents that the bus routes that hadn't been changed since the 1980s really weren't meeting the need of what we're seeing here in Gardner now. This new bus route goes from the Walmart area by the and also stops at the CHC's new urgent care facility, and then goes all the way through the downtown up to Haywood Hospital with a couple different stops along the way. The other piece of feedback that we took from the survey that the city and MART put out last year to create this new bus route is that it cuts the average time of the bus loop from start to finish in half. Up until this one here, the average start to finish of a bus loop was an hour in Gardner. This is a 30-minute loop, so it should make it more accessible to several people in the community. More information on that can be found on MART's website and social media platforms. We have shared their information on the city's platforms as well. There's going to be some work being done this spring over in Orphan Park to close out that construction. Orphan Park, the park that used to be where the Orpheum movie theater used to be, next to the Empire Management Building and the former Ryan Block building where the fountain is, and we used to have the love sign. That construction is expected to be completed sometime this spring with the final arch over the walkway leading down to the parking lot that formally says it is Orpheum Park. Additionally with that, we're going to be having some historic markers that talk about the old theater that was torn down, its significance to the community when it was built, different shows that performed there. We know that John Philip Sousa took his band there and performed several times, so different things like that just to show the historic significance of the area. So all of those plans are currently being finalized for this upcoming spring as well. So it's really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen once the snow melts and we can really start the construction season here in Gardner. Lastly, before we get to where we are today, I just want to put out a couple of reminders of a couple of events we have next week. Next Tuesday at 11 a.m., Congresswoman Lori Trahan will be going to Mount Wachusett Community College to tour their automotive facilities. Mount Wachusett Community College just received a $350,000 grant from the National Institute for Science for their automotive program so that they can be able to train and learn different skills for electric vehicles. A lot of the automotive classes that are being taught, not just here in Massachusetts, but around the nation are set for the former non-electric vehicles that most of us drive, but we know that electric vehicles are going to be becoming more popular, but a lot of our students are not training on these vehicles until they get to the jobs themselves. So this grant was made so that they could, or given so that they could purchase that equipment so that they can train on how to repair, replace, and work on in general a fully electric vehicle and hybrid vehicles moving forward. Once that tour is done, at 12 noon, we have an event that is open to the public. Congresswoman Trahan will be going to the Gardner Municipal Airport for our official grand opening and ribbon cutting of that facility. The federal government gave us $5.4 million in grant funding to do a full tear up and repay from foundation up of the runway and the taxiways at the airport, and the administration building is completely renovated on the inside too. Our 5 to 10 year plan on that is actually to get a little coffee shop restaurant in that building so people can either watch the planes or pilots who are visiting can grab a quick cup of coffee. But we're not there yet, but the building's inside has been renovated. So again, that'll take place at noon at the Gardner Airport next Tuesday, January 23rd. Now, some of you may be wondering where we are because there's a kitchen behind me and we're talking about things going on around the city. We are actually in the old Temptations boutique and the old Ryan Block building. It actually cuts through half of this unit that we're in right now. This is the building at the corner of Parker Street and Connor Street that we, a couple years ago, received a $900,000 grant from the Commonwealth's Underutilized Properties Program to convert this formerly vacant, abandoned, dangerous nuisance building into 29 units of market rate housing here in the downtown. Of the 29 units, there are still 8 available. However, we've been able, not we, it's Mass Ave Rentals and the Lorden family who are overseeing this project have been able to market this enough through the different open houses that they've had to fill almost all of the units that are here. Out of almost 30 units, to only have 8 left, and they're set to open on February 1st right now, barring any issues with National Grid connecting them to the grid. That says something about the demand for housing that we're seeing here in Gardner and why it's important that we're looking at the amount of market rate housing that we're looking to develop here in the city. I want to congratulate Gary, Heidi, Mitch, and Allie Lorden for the work that they did in getting this project off the ground. These units are beautiful. The majority of them are 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments. Some have a little 2-story element to it. Some are just 1 level. There are ADA compliant units in here as well. So I think this is going to be a great addition to the downtown. This building in particular does have its own dedicated parking behind the building as part of the old land that the movie theater used to be on. That's one of the biggest questions we get is where the people who are going to move here, where are they going to be parking? Our zoning outlines that if you have a bedroom, you get X number of units per X number of bedrooms that you have for X number of parking spots per X number of bedroom units that you have. So that's all met in this building. Now, the other buildings across the downtown that are expected to be renovated for more housing units, that's a little different because the zoning also says if you're in a commercial district, which the downtown is, and you are not adding an additional floor to a building, which most of those renovations are not, then you do not have to add additional parking spaces. So what we're looking for right now is your feedback. The city is looking at different options, be it adding a parking garage in the West Street parking lot, looking at other different parking lot options. Do we replace the parking meters? Do we keep meters, or do we move to kiosks? All of these things we need your thoughts on. And it's any grant that we apply for, any funding option that we look for, any proposal I put before the city council, the biggest question that gets asked is, that's great in theory, but do people actually want that? And that's exactly what we're asking right now. So if you could please reach out to my office. Rachel and I are happy to talk to you at any time via phone call or email. Try to stay off Facebook Messenger because we really try not to use that one even on the city's Facebook page because all of that there is public record and it's harder for us to keep control over where it's technically owned by Facebook. So email and phone calls are the best option with any of those. But what are you looking for in the downtown? What are your concerns in terms of parking with the developer we're seeing here too? Are you interested in seeing some type of parking garage facility in Gardner? If so, paid or free? Do you like the meters on the street? If so, do you want to stay with meters or should we move to the kiosks? If we move to kiosks, do we kiosk the street or do we kiosk the parking lots? Different things like that. So let us know what your feedback is so we can really plan best as we move forward with that. And then I want to say thank you very much for always watching these updates and keeping informed as to what's happening here right in all of our backyards in our city. Getting the information right here from the source is always the best way to go rather than finding the information somewhere on social media after a game of telephone with several different people. But if you have any questions on anything going on in the city at all, you can feel free to contact our office at any time and we'll be answering those questions for you. But until then, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Have a great day.